It's time for Waking Up with Wesley. Today's forecast and weather-wide discussion with WLOX First Alert Weather Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams.
Waking Up with Wesley is sponsored by Exclusive Auto Brokers. For the best deals on wheels, visit Exclusive Auto Brokers on Beatline Road in Long Beach.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for waking up with Wesley. I'm Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams, and we this week are going to be talking about the tropics a lot more. There's a possibility of a system that could form in the Gulf. The next available name, Dexter. So we're going to take a look at the chances for development with that as we go into the next few days, talk about what are some factors that could help this develop, what are some factors that could kind of limit the formation of a system, and we'll talk about the possible impacts, because it seems like regardless of if something forms or not, there could be some impacts in the area. While we wait for more of our viewers to join, let's quickly take a look at today's forecast. And you'll notice that it is a very sunny start to the day. We got a lot of sunshine out there Tuesday morning. Temperatures are going to approach the middle 90s this afternoon. Sizzling heat is on tap. And first alert, there's actually a heat advisory in place for South Mississippi. So you're looking at some of those temperature numbers, which are exceeding what is normal. You know, it's summer, it's July, it's supposed to be hot, but our supposed to be heat, lower 90s. Today's heat, mid to upper 90s. So it's hotter than usual, and that will actually lead to a heat index of those numbers up to 110. So that's dangerous. That's why there is that heat advisory in place. If you are someone who has something to do outside today in South Mississippi, especially into the afternoon, there you can see that heat index likely climbing upwards of 105. That critical time for that be anywhere from around noon through basically 4, almost 5 p.m. So anything between noon and 5 p.m., you want to strongly watch, or rather take strong consideration for remaining safe from the heat using those common sense heat safety precautions. All right, so now that we probably have most of our viewers in who've clicked that push alert this morning on their WLOX News app, now we're going to switch gears away from the heat and toward the tropics. That's what this video is mainly about, talking about the chances for tropical storm development in the Gulf this week. And I suspect, based on the latest trends, I think those chances are going to increase from what they are right now. We're going to talk more about the overall tropics picture, but I want to get to the goods first, if you don't mind, the actual impacts, the weather that's going to impact our area later this week. And then once we talk about the possible impacts, then we'll kind of zoom out and talk more about the factors up or down for development. So notice the rain potential here. Today, straight thunderstorm, if any at all. But then tomorrow, we are seeing an increase in rain potential. Wednesday could feature some scattered showers and storms. Looks like hopefully nothing too excessive. But then you go to Thursday, and we're seeing the map completely filled in with rain. And those rain showers on Thursday could be coming directly from a tropical storm or something in the Gulf. So that's going to be a different type of setup, something that we have not experienced here this year. There has been no tropical storms to bring direct rain bands to Mississippi's coast. And this could be the first time that happens this year. 2 days from today, tropical rain bands that could produce gusty squalls, maybe some twisters, quick hitting downpours that could lead to flooding. Let's show you what that looks like on Thursday's Futurecast. So off the bat, you've got one rain band already about to roll ashore. Look at this. This is a rain band from possibly a tropical storm that is going to move our way Thursday morning. What do you have planned Thursday morning? We could be dealing with tropical storm-like weather in South Mississippi. Maybe not the wind, right? Maybe not in the direct wind field of a tropical storm, but at least seeing some of the rain bands on the outer edges of that system. The system at this moment, Thursday morning, would be located a little bit to the south. We'll move the map a little bit so you can see it. There's a look at that system down there just offshore of Louisiana's coast. I can mark the center of that with at least a tropical storm icon. So it's at least going to be a tropical storm based on this computer model. Could be even more intense than that, but at least a tropical storm. The direct winds associated with that, we'll take a look at the wind in a moment, but I doubt we are going to be impacted directly by the wind field if the storm is that far offshore. But even if you don't get a direct wind impact, some of these little gusty squalls can contain wind gusts upwards of 40 miles an hour. They can also spin up quick water spouts. They can also spin up quick twisters as they move ashore. So that's going to be something that we're already watching for going into Thursday, some of these rain bands. That's one rain band I've circled right there. Here's another one that's offshore that's going to be rotating around that circulation. So if I draw the movement on that, let's see if I can do that. It's kind of come around like that. These rain bands circulating around that way. There's probably even more offshore. So that's a look at your Thursday morning. You'll watch as I press play on this. Watch this rain band circulate onto the Mississippi coast. Here we go. We're going to hit play. Wham, right there. Looks like there were even more rain bands that rolled through at times on Thursday morning. And these are going to be on and off kind of tropical squalls. And so you're watching those setting up along the Mississippi coast. Meanwhile, the direct hit from the core of a possible tropical system, not on the Mississippi coast, but instead located farther out near Louisiana. So this is, again, at least a tropical storm. Might be more intense than that based on this computer model. And it looks like it is moving toward the Louisiana coast on Thursday p.m. So they could be dealing with the landfalling tropical system based on this modeling at some point Thursday p.m. Now you look at this and it can be easy to be misled when you look at the Mississippi coast and you're like, you know, phew, there was no direct hit, right? The direct hit was over Louisiana. Even if this is how it plays out, this is not that good for Mississippi because we would be on the right side of a landfalling system, and that means we could face some pretty decent impacts. We're already going to be seeing rain bands, tropical squalls on and off throughout the day, but then notice the wind direction with this. You have a counterclockwise circulation, and those winds are going to be coming around this system like this. This is going to pile the Gulf water up along the Mississippi coast, leading to a probable risk of coastal flooding. I think we're going to see some coastal flood alerts on our Mississippi coast as that saltwater flooding is a possibility with the Gulf water being shoved toward the shoreline. And places right by the beaches might notice those tides coming in higher than usual. With that wind coming in from the south. This won't even wait until Thursday. It could even happen tomorrow, Wednesday, because we're already going to be seeing some east winds, which tends to pile the water up along the Hancock County coast. But then by Thursday, once we get on the west, we will be on the eastern side of the system. The storm will be west of us by Thursday. That's what gets us that south wind and gets those surge waters to pile up along the coast. So that's what I wanted to start off with, the rain impacts and how over the next 7 days, you're looking at this map indicating orange and red colors over the coast of Mississippi, indicating rain amounts of 3 to 5 inches. Could be even higher than that, depending on exactly where this system tracks. So that's going to be something we keep a close eye on as we go into later this week. The exact track will determine exactly who sees the worst rain. It's a possibility, if we're lucky, if we're all lucky, the worst rain might stay offshore, but it is something to monitor. Here's the latest stats on that disturbance. Right now, it's just a tropical wave called Invest 93L. They call it that because the National Hurricane Center is investigating it for tropical development. So that's where the invest comes from. They pick a number, 90 through 99, and that's where that 93 comes from. We've already had 90 earlier this year, already had 91 and 92, so now this is 93. If another disturbance popped up somewhere, they will call that 94. They go through those 10 and then they repeat at 90. And the L is there because this is in the Atlantic Basin, Atlantic L. If this were forming on the other side of Mexico, it would be a P there. It might be, it's either an E or a P because it's in the Eastern Pacific. I think it's an E. because it's in the eastern Pacific, and then farther out, I think that's where they give them a P. So that's where the nomenclature comes from. Anyway, it's moving west at 7. It's very weak pressure-wise, 1014 millibars. That is not low pressure at all. And it's about to move over land, over Florida. So that's going to keep it weak. But once it emerges over the East Gulf, those waters are likely going to be warm enough, as well as several other favorable factors that will lead to some better organization and intensification. So this is a look at the computer model showing this getting into the East Gulf tomorrow. So tomorrow we could have a system trying to form in the Gulf. Today is Tuesday. Tomorrow is Wednesday. Today, there's nothing there. But tomorrow, the next available name, Dexter, maybe the name Dexter is in the Gulf tomorrow, if this becomes a tropical storm tomorrow. And as we go to Thursday, the computer modeling showing this continuing to move west. It's unable to take a turn to the north because it's blocked by high pressure, so it's continuing to move west. But eventually it might find a way around that high pressure, maybe by Louisiana, and that's why it begins to take that turn to the north as it finally is able to move northward around a ridge of high pressure. So that's a look at the raw computer model track with that. Here we'll take a look at the wind speeds, and this is where it gets interesting because our computer model, the futurecast that we use and show you all the time, this model is explicitly showing tropical storm force winds in the Gulf tomorrow. You can see that orange color there right here indicating wind speeds of around 50 miles per hour. So that will be a tropical storm tomorrow, and it will likely take the name Dexter. So again, the computer model, that's what it's saying. The computer model is saying Tropical Storm Dexter in the Gulf tomorrow. Not every computer model in agreement, but this one that we use, our in-house model for Futurecast, that's what it's showing. Then you take a look at Thursday. You not only see that orange color, but you're also seeing red, purple, maybe even a white color. That indicates winds of around 70 miles an hour, maybe 70 to 80 miles an hour or higher. So that would be a Category 1 hurricane, maybe even a little bit higher than that, in the Gulf the day after tomorrow. So again, just telling you what this computer model is saying. It's saying tomorrow, Tropical Storm Dexter in the Gulf. The day after that, Hurricane Dexter in the Gulf. That's what the raw computer model is showing right now. Of course, this computer model is only one of several, and this is only one run of this computer model. This model will change again later today. Maybe it makes the storm weaker. Maybe it keeps it offshore and keeps it away from Louisiana. There's a number of scenarios of how this can turn out. Look, I'll show you them. There's a look at a model spread going from today to tomorrow. Will the system be up here near the Florida coast on Wednesday? Or will it be way out here in the Gulf? That makes a big difference. If it's near the Florida coast, it's probably going to stay weak due to interaction with land. But if it's offshore in the Gulf, it probably has a better chance to get a bit stronger as it's got more elbow room. It's not running up against the friction of a land area, and over water, those smooth water surfaces are allowing those winds to move uninterrupted around its circulation. So depending on where it goes on that model spread will determine how strong it may get on Wednesday. And then you can take a look at Thursday. The model spread out a little bit more. You've kind of got two camps that are developing. One model camp kind of taking that turn to the north a little earlier, but it looks like the majority of the lines are moving west at that point in time. So it looks like more likely than not, the track taking it westward. Only fewer models show this northerly track. More models show this westerly track. So that's the more likely outcome. And you're noticing by Friday, this gets from Florida toward Louisiana and then maybe begins to try to take that turn more toward the north by that point in time. So I've kind of drawn it out for you on what's expected. 93L is expected to enter the East Gulf by tomorrow. And then by the time we get to Thursday, you know, you've got maybe it's staying offshore, that's less likely, but then turning to the north, that's where most of the lines are clustered. So right now, as of Tuesday morning, that's the more likely scenario, this taking a turn toward the north. Depending on how early it takes that turn will determine how much of an impact we see in Mississippi. If it takes the turn in eastern Louisiana, Mississippi probably gets more impacts. If it waits closer to Lafayette or Lake Charles, maybe Mississippi sees fewer impacts. But that's something to monitor. Like I said, the steering with this is all because of high pressure. Here on the map for Tuesday, we've got a strong ridge of high pressure centered here and situated about like this. So this is why the system is not able to move north on Tuesday, because it's blocked by a steering ridge of high pressure. So it's just able to move slowly west. We take a look at Wednesday, and the modeling still shows that high pressure situated about here. So that's why the tropical disturbance is still not able to take much of a turn to the north, and that's why most of the lines are still showing a westward movement, because that high pressure is still north of it, preventing that turn to the north. Now we go to Thursday, and we are still seeing a bit of high pressure, but it is not as, the southern flank of that high pressure is kind of moved northward, so it's kind of already beginning to unlock a path a little bit more to the north, with the high pressure not right in the face of 93L and kind of moving up a little bit. Maybe 93L at that point can begin, instead of moving due west, take that turn more to the north as the high is beginning to get out of the way. And then we go from Thursday to Friday. With that system moving inland, it begins to lose its features on the map, as if it moves inland on Friday, it will likely be falling apart. So it's hard to tell exactly where the high pressure is by this point, but it looks like the high pressure will be a little bit more to the east. And with the high pressure off to the east, this is why 93L has that path unlocked, and it can finally begin moving to the north by the time we get to Friday. So hopefully that helps you to understand the steering on the system. Like I said, we would briefly talk about the factors. This will be the last thing we do. We're running kind of long here on this particular update. So we'll quickly go over the limiting and favorable factors for development. So we know there's water temperatures, there's wind shear, there's moisture, and there's proximity to land. So all four of those are a factor. Today, on Tuesday, it's very close to land, so you're not expecting anything to happen. Once it moves over the Gulf, though, water temperatures are going to increase. This eventually will load our water temperature map, which shows water temperatures in the East Gulf. The surface waters are around 90 degrees. That's bath water. Certainly warm enough to support tropical development, and likely warm enough to support a lot of tropical development, frankly, in the East Gulf, Northern Gulf. However, remember, these temperatures are only observed at the surface. But what about down below the surface? What are the water temperatures down beneath that in the depths? That's important, because we see in the Northern Gulf, there's not actually very deeply warm water. So that means the warm water in the Northern Gulf is only warm near the surface, and then there's mostly cooler water beneath the surface. And this could be the key to helping to limit some of the intensification, because a process called upwelling could occur. That's when you have the surface waters are warm, but if you get a tropical system trying to form, there's a bunch of wind, a bunch of wave action, and those waves are sloshing around, and those waves on the surface of the water are displacing that warm water. Cooler water rises up from the depths, wells up from the depths, upwelling. And that cooler water, as it replaces that displaced warm surface water, actually helps to limit intensification of tropical systems. So that might be one thing that can help us out from this completely blowing up, if it sloshes around and gets some cooler waters on the surface. But the other factors are all in favor. Plenty of moisture there, no dry air to get in the way. And there's actually a little pocket of low wind shear near the Northern Gulf. So that will also be a factor that favors development in that zone. So those are all things that we're going to watch out for as we go into your 7-day forecast. And we're going to continue to talk more details about this with updates from the rest of our team later today, and I'll be back again tomorrow. But just keep an eye on our 7-day forecast. I'll give you a peek behind the curtain. Our team is considering first alert weather days for later this week as we watch the tropics. Some of those could come as early as tomorrow, but it looks like our highest rain chances begin Thursday and continue into Friday, and they might even continue into parts of the weekend as well, as the rain bands from that system just kind of meander near our coastline by that point in time. So keep an eye on the weather in the coming days as we monitor the latest on the tropics. Well, I've completely run out of time for this update. Thanks so much for watching. I've been Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams. We'll see you again next time. Take care.
It's time for Waking Up with Wesley, today's forecast and weather-wide discussion with WLOX First Alert Weather's Senior Meteorologist, Wesley Williams.
Waking Up with Wesley has been sponsored by Exclusive Auto Brokers. For the best deals on wheels, visit Exclusive Auto Brokers on Beatline Road in Long Beach.